I better start recording this. I did the whole show yesterday. I forgot to record. I'm going to try and rip it from the YouTube and yeah. Alright, let's jump into it, guys. Welcome to the podcast. Obviously, we're up to, I think it's like episode 4 now. I think we are. Yeah, 4, I think. And guys, yeah, obviously we're going to go through and we're just going to talk about Trump for a little bit. Then we're going to talk about the Australian new powers of misinformation and disinformation. And then we're probably going to break down Anna Kasparian leaving the left, so to speak. Although that's a bit of a hyperbolic statement. She's not really leaving it, but we'll talk about that. Let me go through and I will tweet out live chat. Alright. Alright. What I need to do is share to Twitter and tweet. God, Trump derangement syndrome is like in full swing, is it not? It's crazy. People are like losing it. Like it is dead set scary how some people are just batshit crazy when it comes to Trump. I've got no idea. Like, so I just switched over to obviously send out the tweet, and I've literally just seen this. We'll just talk about this for a sec. Alright. New tab. That. Like here, if you could choose only one, what would you rather? Trump broke or 2, Trump in prison? Like, this is like peak Trump derangement syndrome. What is with people? And it's mainly a left thing, right? Because like when it comes to, hey Ferrets, how are you, buddy? Time for my weekly dose. Thanks, buddy. Like when it comes to like Trump, this is like a Trump thing, because like for example, like when it comes to like Hillary, I wouldn't want to see Hillary in broke or in prison. Well, maybe prison, but but like it's such an extreme reaction from like the lefties, and then they'll sit there and they'll complain about the right being divisive while they sit there and do shit like this. So like, yeah. Hi Pot, welcome. But anyway, probably should jump into it, shouldn't we? Guys, obviously, let's jump into it. Let's kick this puppy and let's go. So obviously, Trump had a pretty big weekend. Obviously, guys, Biden went to the beach, and nobody noticed who he was. But obviously, Trump had a bit of a different reaction when he went to Betty's Ice Creams. Dairy Queen. He went to Dairy Queen Ice Creams in Iowa, and then he also went to the UFC. So, this is what happens when Trump went to the Dairy Queen ice cream.
Back to the train. Bringing it back. That looks good. Here you go.
I'll pass it down.
Anybody want one back there with the... Do they need... I think they need... They give you some... Yeah. Thank you, Donald. Look at this guy. Back to the train.
So there was actually a really good clip, and I don't get it actually, where he was like, they were like asking him for like a blizzard, and he's like, "What's a blizzard?" It was just so relatable. But obviously, yeah, he went to Dairy Queen and apparently has brought a whole bunch of ice creams. Just saying, Trump 1 or 2 scoops, right? But then obviously he's gone through and he also went to the UFC. So like I said, he's had a pretty big weekend, right? And this is the reaction. We got a few videos here of Trump at the UFC. So let's go through and break this down.
Oh, I love this guy. I love this guy.
So obviously, for the people that don't know, the person that's standing here on the right is Dana White, obviously, and that's Trump.
Are you okay? You're fantastic. That's okay. There's just a little bit concerned. Everything I said. You guys have done such a fantastic job. And this man is the one that introduced us, right?
Good guy. That's good.
So I think the guy he's talking to is one of the guys from the Full Send podcast, I think.
Loyal best friend in the world. Yeah, do anything.
You're the best also.
Good, thank you.
He was just talking about you when we were walking up here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You take care of yourself. We'll do it again, okay?
You're going to be the president again.
We better be. Or the country's in big trouble.
We're fucked.
Thank you.
Hey, he said it, not Trump, right?
We're actually...
That's a perfect word. It's better than you use it. Anyway, dude,
I love you.
say hello to the guys, okay?
I will.
Thank you very much.
You're the man.
Meet me over there.
Great.
I'll be
I think that's the Full Send podcast. Dana White, Matt Coach. Doesn't really say, but yeah. Is there any? Yeah, it doesn't say. But I'm pretty sure that's the I think that's the guy from Full Send podcast. I think that's who he's talking to. But obviously Trump has walked into the UFC and was basically given a Rockstar Welcome. So let's go through that.
So,
we got the man. He's here.
as you might expect for International Fight Week, a lot of people are in the building, but no one needs more security than the former president of the United States, obviously a really good friend of Dana White.
Oh my word, I mean listen, he's a massive fight fan, and that just shows how big this event is. Donald Trump has loved the fights for a long time. He's often at Madison Square Garden, but the International Fight Week, he has to show up, show his support. He has done since day one. It's good to see him here, Dom.
Oh, it's no surprise that this man is here because this is the only thing that stayed open in all of sports during some of the darkest times. Glad he's here.
All right, let's go. So,
So that's obviously Trump walking into the UFC. And then obviously we have this video as well. So let's just compare this, right, with Biden being at a beach and nobody even noticing who he is. I'll try and find that. I'll try and find that for you. But yeah, Biden was at a beach while Trump was doing this, and no one cared. No one at all. I kind of feel sorry for Biden sometimes, to be honest. Then we've got this as well. So this is one of the fighters in the UFC, literally like during a fight stopping, or before a fight stopping and coming up and saying hi to Trump. So that's pretty cool. And then here we have Joe Rogan and Trump. Now this is big. This is really, really big. And we'll break this down for you after we watch it too. So for the guys that are listening to the podcast and on Spotify, Trump is walking over and shaking hands with Joe Rogan. And they are looking very happy and very, very buddy. Now, this is obviously very different than Joe Rogan's original stance when it came to Trump. Obviously, when Trump first ran back in 2016, Joe Rogan really didn't like Trump much. He called him a bit of an idiot or something like that. You called him some sort of names. Now, the big thing about this, the big takeaway from this, is that Joe Rogan has always said that he didn't want to get too political on his podcast, right? That he's been asked several times, would he ever host a debate with Donald Trump? And he's always said, oh, look, I don't know. I don't really want to get political or anything like that. I don't want to get any of the politicians in here. But that said, just recently, he's had Robert Kennedy Jr. on the podcast, who is also running as a Democrat for the 2024 elections. So he's kind of, I don't want to say broken his own rule, but he's already smashed that rule. I suppose it's broken. Let's call it broken. Let's call it for what it is. He's already broken that rule, right? So people are now wondering, well, with Trump and Rogan being so buddy, does this mean that we might actually get a Trump Rogan actual podcast? God, I would love so. I would really, really love it. People didn't want. So, Ferret's in chat. People didn't want to mess with Biden because they probably thought he was lost again. Yeah, pretty accurate, actually. Pretty accurate. But yeah, as for this Joe Rogan, like I said, it's basically, this is sort of like, and the way they're sort of like, you know, let's go back and rewatch it too. So I can't see what they're saying. I'm not good at reading lips, but Trump does point to Joe Rogan, and it looks like he's saying something like you or something like that. I don't know if he's saying like I love your show or I want to be on your show or what. But yeah, just these two having this sort of interaction. Obviously, Joe Rogan is big at the UFC. Obviously, he's there with Dana White. Dana White is obviously huge with Trump. So, you know, it makes sense that they're buddies. But yeah, like this interaction itself is pretty impressive. Because like I said, originally Joe Rogan was very much not sort of against Trump. Well, I suppose he was in a way. He called him a whole bunch of names. So it's quite interesting to see how they're going on. And it looks like, look, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a Joe Rogan podcast with Trump. Who knows? Obviously, we've had Donald Trump Jr. on Timcast and stuff like that. Who knows? Who knows, right? Now, obviously, Trump chats with Mel Gibson, Roger Stone. It's interesting, Roger Stone. Joe Rogan at the UFC fight. So, Trump made an appearance during the weekend of a campaign stop in Las Vegas and Ottawa. Las Vegas, former President Donald Trump drew a reaction from the audience on the Saturday evening when he showed up for a mixed martial arts event, blah, blah, blah. While at the T-Mobile Arena, Trump chatted with notable politician allies and celebrities including Mel Gibson, who we'll talk about in a sec, Mark Wahlberg, and celebrity chef Guy Fieri, Roger Stone, Trump's longtime friend. It's good to see these two actually buddies again. Former political advisor and weekend travel companion. Oh, weekend travel companion with Stone. I wonder if they're going to work on the campaign together. So, now the big thing here is Mel Gibson actually has a documentary coming out soon dealing with CT. You know, I don't want to say the words because obviously demonetization. And Trump actually went through and arrested over, I think it was over 3,800, I think it was, people that are attracted to underage people. So it's interesting those two would meet because they do have some similar interests as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, him and Stone is obviously the big thing too. And obviously, and this is where it starts getting into some of the Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like, obviously, like I was saying before, we've got this John Cooper. If you could only have one, what would you rather? Trump be broke or in prison? And then you've got, like, literally the guy from White Stripes. So it's Jack White. Official Jack White. Anybody who normalizes or treats this disgusting something or other, con man, disgusting piece of something, Trump, with any level of respect is also disgusting in my book. Like, I tell you what, if Trump wins in 2024, we are going to have a colossal Trump derangement syndrome meltdown on some of these lefties. That's you, Joe Rogan, you, Mel Gibson, you, Mark Wahlberg, you, Guy Ferry. The statement from me, not a discussion or a debate. It's interesting how he says it's a statement from me and not a discussion. So in other words, this is my statement and I'm not going to debate this with you if anybody tries to push back on it. Right? Because he's so concrete. This White Stripes guy is so alpha. Right? His ideas could possibly stand up to criticism because, well, you know, that he can debate anything, right? And he can be alpha and all this sort of stuff, right? Yeah, I generally find the people that say this stuff, it's not a discussion or a debate. They're lacking morals. They lack a backbone. They lack a spine. And at the end of the day, that's why they shut down the debate or the discussion before it even starts. Because they know that their statements are stupid. They know their statements don't hold water. And they know that if anybody was to push back against it, their statements would fold like a cheap suit. Ferret says in chat, let me bring it up. If Trump wins in 2024, I'm going to have to finally get a piece and get my CC card. Concealed carry. Oh, yeah. Nice. Dude, if Trump wins in 2024, there's going to be a whole bunch of meltdowns. But guys, obviously, as for this, like I say, obviously it's interesting that he's meeting with Joe Rogan. It's very interesting he's meeting with Mel Gibson. Mark Wahlberg is obviously, I never thought he was a conservative, but whatever. But obviously the big thing there is the Joe Rogan and also the Roger Stone thing. Because I do think Roger Stone did a lot to help Trump in 2016. And he wasn't there for the 2020. So, yeah. It'd be definitely interesting to see Stone as well, obviously helping Trump with 24. Get back in the old guard, Trump, if you do watch this for some reason. You know, go back to people like the Steve Bannon, the Roger Stones. Get back to the anti-establishment roots and get rid of these idiots like these establishment shills. Like I saw he met with Lindsey Graham a couple of days ago, and it just made me creepy. Just made me want to go and have a bleach bath. But guys, obviously, Chicago lockdown 2.0. Yeah, probably next pandemic. Next time there's a pandemic, you find that lockdowns are going to be worse. I've told you, bro, you got to get out of that blue state. But yeah, guys, obviously let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. For the people that are watching this later, obviously hit us up in the comments. But as for this, I like I said, the biggest thing for me is the Joe Rogan and the Roger Stone thing.